Coming up in less than 2 weeks, some of the most powerful, influential, and wealthy people will be getting together in Davos, Switzerland for the annual World Economic Forum meeting. So, the Davos annual meeting is scheduled to take place from January 15th through to January 19th. And the theme for the week is rebuilding trust. So, this rebuilding of trust that they're talking about is foreshadowing of what to come, and that is surrounding technology. Over the last couple of years, people have been waking up to the fact of these globalists who have been trying to steal people's sovereignty and freedoms away. And they don't like the fact that they can't control this narrative. So, what have we seen over the last year in 2023? Laws being passed. In my previous video, we began to take a look at the four core pillars of focus that will be the center of attention in this meeting. And what I notice is that there is a progression. So, in the beginning, the first video with achieving security, they're actually laying the foundation for getting everybody on board for this one universal digital platform that governs by this one entity. And then, secondly, they talk about the growth in jobs that will come from this wonderful technology called artificial intelligence. And in the third video of this series, I covered the third pillar, which was the artificial intelligence as a driving force for the economy and society, in which I went over all the various facets that AI will be encroaching upon us in trying to control us. This video is going to finish up this series in covering the last core pillar, which is the long term strategy for climate, nature, and energy, in which you'll now start to see how they bind everything together into this particular theme. So, on the WEF website, as we explore this particular theme, you can see that their focus is still moving towards this transformation in trying to reduce our carbon footprints. So, transitioning from fossil fuels to more sustainable so called alternative energy sources, as well as solutions that stem from supply chain and business operation, all the way down to how you live your life and consume. Before we continue, I'd like to emphasize that the World Economic Forum, United Nations, and the World Health Organization are all NGOs, meaning they're not elected bodies of government in which they have the say on how things should be governed. Instead, they have created this force, bringing together some of the most powerful leaders in the world, as well as some of the most powerful people in the world from a private sector, to carry out consolidating into this one world government, which we're seeing happen being pushed by the UN and the WHO because they are acting as the bridge between the WEF and our government. And if allowed to continue, it will be bypassing our laws and our rights, especially here in the United States. Our personal sovereignty will be given away should we enter into any of these agreements that they are proposing around international law. So they're looking to do something around pandemic preparedness, which we'll do a separate video on that. They're looking to put international law around the internet and media types that you get to see, regulations around that. I mean, it is pretty serious. And I think that people are not understanding that our freedoms really are in serious jeopardy, especially as AI is now going to be the focus here with these people because there's a lot of money to be made. Within the last couple of years, at some point, you have heard the terminology of meeting Agenda 2030 or ESG or SDG goals. Well, what we're talking about here are goals that actually came out of this Agenda 21, which dates all the way back to 1992. Now, these globalists have been working on this for a while, assuming that Agenda 21 was supposed to be us hitting these targets in 2021. But since we missed those targets, my guess is that it's now changed to Agenda 30. And the investors at BlackRock and Vanguard have now created this push in the corporate world to adopt these goals in order to drive the behavior that they want to see, because at the end of the day, this is about the bottom dollar. Now, the school of thought around this is that in order to have this sustainability that they're seeking, it has to be based on three pillars that are integrated together: social, economic, and then environmental. Each one of them needs each other in order to thrive. So, when we look at some of the topics that are going to be covered in a couple of days, you can see in the center there their focus really is about continuing on reducing our carbon footprint and reimagining how you do business. In one of these articles, which is the most recent one from January 4th, there appears to be a new manipulative word that they're going to be using as the buzzword in order to get us all onto this centralized platform and using technology more and be more integrated. So it says, forget resilience. To truly thrive, businesses must set their sights on regeneration. So, what is this regeneration term that they're using now? So, according to the marketing sales pitch that they have on the website, regeneration is a new, bolder way to think about business strategy. It's a proactive approach to people, the planet, and most of all, the profit. Instead of holding steady, regenerative companies make courageous moves. They strive to reconnect with the social and environmental systems that they're a part of instead of fighting against them. Now, reading that out loud, folks, that has told me nothing about what this so called regeneration means. Let's see if the next paragraph gives us some insight. Regenerative leaders prioritize reflection, self awareness, constant evolution, and making micro changes to stay ahead of the curve. They are open to new ideas and change. Instead of setting 5 year plans, they experiment, pivot, and learn. Okay, nope, that doesn't tell me anything either. Let me continue. And when our teams know that they're not just surviving another quarter, they can reframe their expectations. We can help them thrive, not just survive. Oi, oi, oi. 3 paragraphs into this article, and I still have no idea what this regeneration means. Anyhow, let's see if it further goes into something. While it's certainly a gentler way to run business, regeneration isn't something we do out of the benevolence. It's better business sense. Instead of thinking about ESG topics in a silo, and despite the current backlash, yes, a lot of backlash, regenerative business leverage the latest analytics to connect their core work, operating models, and supply chains to their broader sustainability goals to drive the entire system to be fair, viable, livable. Aha! Yes, this is where they sneak in artificial intelligence to bind and integrate everybody into this. All right, now I see the sales pitch. Regeneration is also a concept that comes directly from the Darwinian natural world. Survival of the most adaptive. We all know that if humans want to thrive for generations to come, we have to get our business systems much closer aligned with the natural systems around us. Yes, folks. You see how they are so sneaky into positioning that technology is going to do this for everyone, and that's why it's a good idea for all of us to be sold into the possibility of a better life as a result of these technological advances. But in order for us to get there, we all have to be a part of it and adopt it. In this poorly written article, there is no definition on what regeneration actually is. So they jump to, what's the current state of regeneration? The underlying energy is there. Researchers at Kearney surveyed nearly 800 senior business leaders around the world. We heard enthusiasm for this shift from reactive resilience to more proactive regeneration. Again, they still haven't defined what the heck is regeneration. I'm guessing we have to assume that next gen technology is involved. They give us sort of a roadmap where they begin with operations, Focus on repeatable value. Okay, what does that mean? The key to regenerative operations, develop business models that build on themselves for greater long-term value. Well, I think in general, if you're running a business, wouldn't you have a business model hoping for it to sustain long term? I think that's a given. That could mean rethinking supply chains to be less dependent on a sole source, to be both adaptive and analytically informed, and to be circular with built in carbon transparency, leading to more diverse and distributed networks. Okay. So here we go. Continuing on. People in communities do good by people inside and outside the organization. Well, hopefully, many businesses are running that way already today. As with any business initiative, people are at the heart. Bring people along on this journey by communicating what's important, supporting leaders who courageously create change, and rewarding regenerative behavior. Okay, what is regenerative behavior? People crave a purpose, give it to them. No, we don't need people to be telling us what our life purpose is. Okay, so here's what I don't like about these people. They honestly feel like they are in the position to be telling everyone what their purpose and mission is while they're on the face of this earth. I'm sorry, but I don't need a corporation to be telling me what my life purpose is and who I serve. Those that are rooted in religion, I am rooted in my faith. That is what guides me. That is what gives me reason to live. My family gives me reason to live. Nowhere in any of these pillars that have been discussed do they put family first and talk about the importance of nurturing and fostering for the next generation. This is all about profit. Profit, profit, profit. And as you can see here, they talk about people being at the heart. Of course, people are at the heart because they need us in order for this to thrive and be successful so they can make their money. But at the end of the day, is it really the people at heart in bettering us? No, it's not. This is all about gaining control. Oh, this next part makes me laugh. Regenerative leaders think beyond output. They don't fixate on productivity. Instead, they prize true impact and inspire those we need to drive solutions. Well, isn't that a bunch of bullshit? Finally, we get to what the heart of this article is supposed to be about tech and data, in which they say there's a clear opportunity to use powerful technology to unlock new value. Regenerative companies are constantly looking for new ways to understand the state of the business, create personalized customer experiences, and flag key business opportunities. Regenerators rely on data, not on gut feel. And there you have it, folks. That was the whole article. They could have just summarized this in this last paragraph because what this is all about is using AI technology in order to drive more efficient businesses, whether it be cut down on workforce, use analytics to do things or make business decisions, predictive analytics to drive the business, which means operating leaner, faster, and more, in the sense, resilient. They could have shortened this and saved us all a lot of time. But, folks, new marketing term, regeneration. Stupid, I know. I agree. What really is frustrating to see here is the cooperation from the US government in supporting this private public partnership. This current administration is only serving the wealthy, and I think America needs to wake up to see how our leaders are selling the people out. Let's talk about this First Movers Coalition. So, in November of 2022, the special presidential envoy for climate, John Kerry, announced a major expansion of the First Movers Coalition, the public private partnership to commercialize clean technologies through advanced purchase commitments on the initiative's first anniversary, launched by President Biden in partnership with the World Economic Forum at COP26. The First Movers Coalition has expanded to include 65 companies representing more than 10% of the global Fortune 2000 by market value, as well as 10 government partners. New corporate members include General Motors, Pepsi, and Rio Tinto. So I'm going to stop right there. You might ask, well, what does this actually mean? Well, watch this video so you can understand a little bit more on the language that you're hearing here.
You would have to be blind as a business leader today not to see that your market prerequisites have changed massively. You need to make sure that you have a sustainable financial performance in your company at the same time as you are sustainable from a climate perspective.
The concept behind the First Movers Coalition is very simple. It's to send a powerful demand signal. The market has got to get to that green place.
The First Movers Coalition is asking industry to use their purchasing power to actually work with suppliers to buy products and services that are relying on innovative new clean technologies.
Individual actions will get us only to a certain point because technologies do not exist today for us to be able to address all of the Scope 3 emissions.
And for those parties that are developing those technologies, sometimes it can be hard because they don't know whether the market's going to be there for them or not.
And yet there is research that if you allocate these additional costs through the value chain to the end product, the additional cost for a green product is actually quite small.
By putting the money up and creating the demand, we will move into these various sectors like shipping, trucking, aviation fuel. These are the hard-to-abate sectors of our economies. So proving that we're able to green that product and then bring it to scale at a price that can be affordable is going to change the world.
It's doing one thing that we all respond to. It's putting money into the equation.
Business can't do it on its own. So we know that we need to work with government. We need organisations like the First Movers Coalition to make sure that we have a coordinated voice, particularly when it comes to important policy-making decisions.
We know that this is the future of our global economy, so we want to stand in the forefront of that.
It is very important that we work together collaboratively to find these solutions because that's the only way we're going to be able to tackle this crisis.
In addition to that, coming together in a forum like the First Movers Coalition allows companies to share information and insights about where things are at, different ways of doing things.
We share the same values, we share the same long-term perspective in how our companies can evolve to be successful.
For us, it's clearly a way of building competitiveness and business opportunities. The cost and risk of not transforming is much, much greater than the cost and risk of actually moving.
Because this is such a global challenge, it's important that we encourage others to participate. We are in a crisis. We're showing you can do it.
We are in a time where we need proactive leaders who truly take the necessary steps. Obviously, we can't wait until the future to get the work done.
We're making progress even as we suffer setbacks, even as there are moments of despair. And we're in a great, exciting moment in terms of that fight.
So, Mr. Potato Head, as I like to call him, has been put in charge by the Biden administration to work alongside with the World Economic Forum in pushing towards net zero or getting our carbon footprint down. And that is forcing behaviors with large companies to drive investments in the next generation clean steel, aluminum, and cement. Sounds wonderful. However, what it doesn't include here, and this is what concerns me the most, is the consolidation and monopoly that these companies are going to have tied up in these new contracts and agreements, to where small businesses are going to be put out of business as a result of this initiative to drive to net zero. When you look at the UN's report on setting targets and recommendations for businesses such as financial institutions, cities, and regions to get to net zero, they purposely state, even though they recognize that small businesses is a large part of some countries like the United States, the core focus in this recommendation report is for large corporations, financial institutions, and cities and regions. So what they go into saying about what small businesses will need to do here in order to get to net zero. Non-state actors, meaning companies, large ones, should build support to small and medium-sized enterprises and micro enterprises in their efforts to decarbonize and green their businesses. Small businesses are a key part of the economic fabric in most countries and are especially present in industries vital for the transition. They provide key services, livelihoods, and employment opportunities. Globally, they represent about 90% of businesses and more than 50% of employment, and even higher in developing countries. As they are a part of bigger entities' value chains and contribute to Scope 3 emissions, they are crucial to meeting net zero objectives. Under pressure to transition themselves in order to retain customers and access finance, small and micro businesses will need help from bigger entities with data collection, capacity building, and creating and sharing needed technology. So now going back to Mr. Potato Head's coalition, as you can see here, what this is going to do, as it says here, by joining FMC and committing to purchase innovative emerging climate technologies, meaning the big companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Volvo, Pepsi, General Motors, if they're looking to suppliers to, buy products and so forth, they're now being pushed in the direction to buy from suppliers who are supplying green technologies. So what does that mean for the smaller businesses that are not in this space? Even though the UN has set forth saying that, yeah, bigger companies are going to have to help the smaller businesses, it doesn't appear to me that that's going to be incentivized to do here under this coalition. Maybe I'm looking at this wrong, but I do not see any protection for the middle class or the small business owners who are definitely going to be impacted by this, especially around fossil fuels and be forced to pay a carbon tax if the business has not been moved over to net zero by a certain point. This is going to trickle down into the middle class, in which we're going to have to be paying carbon taxes for if we have a gas stove in our house or if we have a certain type of car that is not electric. People need to see that the governments are participating in this, making it so tough for regular people like you and I to live. And the behaviors that they're forcing, especially with this coalition that is going to force pretty much monopolies and control over an industry in the sense, you will see now prices going up. You'll also see small businesses no longer being able to sustain because they cannot compete with this. You'll also start to see people like us having to sacrifice a lot more in our lives in order to accommodate this plan that they're trying to get to, and this is for them to achieve their targets and their profitability. Let me pose this question to my viewers, and keep politics out of it. Doesn't matter if you're right or left. Can you honestly see yourself from now to 2030, and this is another 6 years more, of things getting tighter, things getting more expensive, things getting more restrictive because of all these new parameters, all for the sake of reaching a target that has been set by people who are profiting from it? Look, we all have a very short time on this earth and one shot at the life that we are given. Do we want to see the next 6 years, or let's say they don't meet their targets and now they stretch it out to 2050, which it looks like that's what is going on. Do we want to spend the next 30 years suffering, being squeezed of every penny, being restricted, all under the guise of this mirage of the common good, when you realize that the only good that this is serving the people that are forcing us into this new world that they want us in? A world of control, a world of surveillance, and a world of squeezing every last penny from us. I mean, these people are parasites and they need us for all of this to succeed. I don't know what the answer is. My guess is, we really need to start looking at alternatives, such as alternate companies to support that don't foster into this, because the power that they have is a result of us giving it to them. And that includes our elected officials. They are selling us down the road. As you can see there in black and white from the US perspective, we are aligned with the WEF. This administration currently now is aligned with the World Economic Forum, with the United Nations, and with the World Health Organization. You got to ask yourself this honest question. Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? I'll answer that truthfully here. No, I am not. I live in New York City. Food prices have gone skyrocketing. Rent has gone skyrocketing. I'm going to tell you, the migrant situation here has completely degraded the city. There is crime everywhere. I am struggling to make ends meet. I didn't have this problem 4 years ago. And literally, my current situation remains the same from earning capabilities. I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't care if the next person that gets into office is misogynistic. I don't care if he's a racist. I don't care what his personal beliefs are. If he's going to fix the country and bring back some stability, I'm all for it. I truly have to make that decision on how to survive, not anybody else. And I think people really need to have that conversation with themselves. And the reason why I'm doing this channel, it's not monetized. I know it won't get monetized because of the fact that, I'm talking about this stuff. I'm passionate enough to educate myself, and those that want to learn with me, you're more than welcome to come on board and for us to have these conversations, for us to make sure that we are making the right decisions. Because what I do not want to see happen is for any of us to go into this year blindly and being lied to. We're going to sort through all of that, and we're going to maintain some sense of sanity this year in order to make the right decisions, because this ship needs to turn around. And that's all I have to say. In a perfect world, all of this sounds wonderful, but we all know that the people that are involved more than likely are doing this for selfish reasons and are extremely corrupt. We know quite a few characters in the political sphere that you shouldn't trust. What I do think, though, is that should there be a shift and a pushback, and the people have more of a voice and more feeling or a sense of control and being able to maintain their personal sovereignty, then there could be some type of give and take. But in this situation, with this organization, they are making decisions for you. And I'm not sure how you feel about that, but for me, I do not comply, and I will not comply. It really does fall on each of us to take responsibility to learn about what's going on and decide for ourselves if this is the future that we want. But until then, I do hope that you do come back and join me on this journey of learning what is really going on so we can make these decisions and make the right ones. But if you like this video, please do not forget to hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe, because I will be dropping more videos pertaining to this Davos annual meeting and uncovering what it's really all about, and you definitely don't want to miss it. But until then, I ask you please be safe, and I'll see you soon.